Hello guys, how are you doing today? It's a pleasure having you here. Yes, indeed. Now we are starting a new series. Yes, indeed, which is titled What's Happening in the Forex Market Today, meaning that we're going to be bringing this to you on a daily basis, looking at the market, looking at the news, looking at what's happening globally in order for us to be able to take advantage of, right? We all need a helping hand. And of course, this channel, the CSA Forex channel, is going to help you to achieve that. So all you need to do now is to ensure that you watch the video all the way to the end, as we are going to be talking about some regular currency pairs, some regular instruments that traders are usually demanding for. Okay, so what's happening in the Forex Market Today series begins now. The first thing we're going to look at is what happened last week. Yes, let's look at what happened last week in the market. And of course, if you are conversant with the market, you will know we always usually start with the dollar, because the dollar, for us, we look at the major currency pairs. So the dollar is at the forefront of the Euro USD, the Pound USD, the gold, the Bitcoin, and so on, right? So if you look at the dollar right in front of us, this is what happened last week, right? From last week, or let's even do it this way. From the chart that we have in front of us, you can see based on support and resistance, we have here as resistance, support, support, or rather here resistance that also acted as support here, support, 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 support. So we can see a whole bunch of supports over here. We can determine that this here is support. Here we have resistance, 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 resistance. Here is resistance. So based on the dollar, the DXY from last week, we can easily conclude that the market was ranging. I repeat, we can easily conclude that the market was ranging. It was a ranging market. And as a result, we can say it was a stalemate between the buyers and the sellers. A stalemate between the buyers and the sellers. And we always say the dollar is at the forefront of most of the majors, right? So if we look at the Euro USD as an example, you would also see that sideways movement in the market. And this is what we had last week. Sideways movement in the market, where we had this area here that acted as support. You can see some little areas here of support, but it failed to break out. So it kept on moving sideways. And of course, this bottom here, this lows, is what we call support, while this former support is now resistance. So it failed to break out to the upside, failed to break to the downside as well, and eventually ended up moving sideways. And of course, this was all thanks to what? This was all thanks to the USD, right? The dollar index. The same thing happened to gold. You can see gold was sideways here, couldn't break out of this area here that was supposed to be resistance and kept on acting as resistance. And then, of course, here a support couldn't break out. 80 USD, the same thing. And even on the 80 USD, you can see as we have this range over here, right? This sideways market, the sideways action here. If you see very well, you can see sideways, 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 sideways. Even with the sideways, it now seems to be forming a triangle, right? It seems to be forming a triangle here. And if you look closely, we can see the triangle in this manner, which is also known as a wedge, which looks like it wants to break to the downside. It breaks to the downside, you could wait for maybe a pullback here and then continue to drop. But before we could even start to look at from last week to this week, we want to do something. We want to look at what? We want to look at the calendar. Very, very key. We'll look at the news calendar, because the news calendar is going to help us to have a better understanding of the market as a whole. It's going to help us understand which news we have coming out, which high impact news we have coming out today, Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or whatever in this new week that could easily cause some serious volatility in the market. And of course, we need to be aware of. So here is the calendar from the Forex Factory, right? That's the forexfactory.com website. So here's the calendar that we have. Monday, January 15th, we don't have any high impact news. We have only turned on the high impact news. As you can see, they're all red. We're paying attention to this because this is when you're going to have the market react in a very, very volatile manner. So this is Monday, January 15th. We don't have anything in the market for today. And then till Tuesday, January 16th. Oh, sorry, Monday, January 15th and Tuesday, January 16th. Great. I was mixing up the dates there. Tuesday, January 16th, we have news from 8 a.m., 2:30, 4, and so on. You can see all the currencies that are going to be affected on Tuesday and the news and so on. So we don't have an actual over here because the news results, the outcome is yet to drop for the week. Don't forget Monday, today, there's nothing. But for the rest of the week, we have news coming out on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, with that said, we want to show you something. Remember, we focus majorly on the USD, the DXY, and if you trade any other instrument whatsoever, no problem. Make sure you pay attention to the news calendar here because it is very key, very, very important for us to do just that. So looking at what we have here, we have news coming out on Tuesday for the US dollar. Remember, we're focusing on the US dollar. Wednesday, we have for the US dollar as well, 2:30 p.m., 2:30 p.m. That's West African time. Thursday, 2:30 p.m., as you can see. And then on Friday, we have at 4 p.m. West African time. So make sure to always change the timing based on your own time zone so that you have it come out at the exact time with you. So you are not confused with the news releases and all. Okay, so these are the news that we have coming out for the USD Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That means that we should have some possible volatility this week, which of course is a good thing. Right now, before we continue with what we have for you, before we continue with the remaining what's happening in the Forex Market Today series, a quick disclaimer for you that the Forex market carries a high level of risk, so you need to ensure to protect your account accordingly. Make sure you're using the proper stop loss, and of course, you're using the proper volume and lot size based on your account balance. And also the information that we are sharing with you now is strictly for what? Is strictly for educational purposes. I repeat, the information we're sharing with you now is strictly for educational purposes. Now, we're going to continue and we're going to look at the USD for this week, right? We're going to explore the USD for this week. And we cross back to the chart. Here's the USD for this week. So for this week, what are we expecting? With the news coming out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for USD, what are we expecting? We're expecting that as the market has been moving sideways for a while, we are due for a breakout out of this resistance to the top side, or we are due for a breakout out of this support to the downside. Now, when this happens, that means that more buying pressure to the upside or more selling pressure to the downside has occurred. And all we have to do is to look for a pullback after the breakout to the upside, and then this should act as support, and then we try to follow it up, or we look for a pullback when it breaks to the downside, and then we'll try to follow it down. Either way, we are expecting a breakout from this week. The market can go sideways for only so long. So we're waiting, and then we're going to see, hopefully, that this week, that this week the market is going to move is going to move either up or down. And of course, we should be able to get a pullback and then an entry based on that. Now, we have just looked at the USD index. We have looked at the USD index. Let's look at the Euro USD, because the Euro USD tends to follow what the USD does, meaning that if the USD is pushing higher, you should expect the Euro USD to be pushing lower. So they tend to move in opposite directions. I repeat, they tend to move in opposite directions, meaning that for this Euro USD now, I can see sideways, just like the other one for the USD index, this guy here. It first of all moved up and then sideways, and then Euro USD moved down and then sideways. So based on what we have right in front of us here, right? Based on what we have right in front of us here, we are also expecting a breakout either to the upside or to the downside here. And when this happens, wait for a pullback. This area should act as support and push higher, or at the other side, pull back to the up. Of course, That's why it went down, and we look for a pullback here, and then it dropped in this manner. Right, so this is the Euro USD that we have and that we're paying attention to here. And we're just going to talk about a few currencies, maybe two or three. And then if you have any requests whatsoever, you can throw that in, and then we'll see with good time, we could put it into the what's happening in the Forex market today series. And of course, you should be able to benefit from that. So the next one we're going to be looking at is the pound USD. The next instrument we're going to be looking at is the pound USD. And of course, this pound USD is very key, very, very important for us to, keep a close eye on, because the Euro USD and the pound USD, they tend to move alike in a way, right? They tend to move alike. But even as they tend to move alike, right, we need to also note that they could differ at any given time. It's not always 100%. But here is the pound USD. You remember, for most of the instruments we've been looking at, especially from last week, the market has been pretty ugly. And of course, GBP USD is looking way too ugly. I 100% don't like this at all. It's looking way too ugly for me. And I am not going to even talk about this much, because based on this time frame, that is based on the 1 hour time frame that we're looking at, this sideways is just too much for me, right? If it was maybe on the 4 hours, we could obviously pick out something much better. And remember the sideways action we just talked about now, this is it over here. We have the sideways action here from the 4 hours time frame. So remember, whenever you're conducting your analysis, you can conduct it from different time frames, and make sure you are seeing, number one, the trend properly, because this trend will help you to know what you want to do. And an uptrend, if you want to go with the trend, it means that you should be looking forward to buying. And in a downtrend, you should be looking forward to what? You'll be looking forward to selling. From what we have here, just some few things. You have this, like, I can draw a trend line in this manner, and something like this too in this manner, to show you that we have a sort of rising wedge. And a rising wedge like this in an uptrend, two things could happen, right? You could break to the downside, pull back here, and then drop further, right? Or you could do that to the upside and then push higher. For me, I am a pullback trader. I prefer when the market does pullbacks, right? So that I can get in on a discounted price, and I'm moving alongside that trade. I'm not saying you cannot go counter to the trend. You can do a counter trend trade, but you need to understand what you are doing. Counter trend traders tend to use the likes of divergence, you tend to use the likes of price action, reversal patterns, and some other things to jump in the market. No matter what you are doing, no matter how you are trading, just make sure you have a good handling of the market. I always say, just like a chess player, you should know when the market, right, what the next person wants to do, whether you're a buyer or seller. You'd have a rough idea what the next party is up to. Now, with this GBP USD, with that said, I believe the final instrument we're going to be talking about now, because of time, is the gold. We're going to talk about gold, XAU USD. And for XAU USD, for gold, you're going to see something. We talked about the gold not too long ago, but you're also going to see it because now we're looking at the possible scenarios that we're going to have. And of course, since it's going to be regular, we're going to be having updates. You can see it's already here, support, 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 resistance. It's knocking heavily on this area of resistance. So it might do what? It might push higher, pull back, push up again, or at this area, it might drop down. Don't forget, pay attention to the US dollar for clues. It's going to help you out tremendously, because the US dollar is like the father of all the majors. That is euro, pound. It's a leading indicator, let's put it that way, right? And of course, as it's a leading indicator, I always tell traders today, that is why we have the likes of, I'm sure you must have heard about them. That's why we have the likes of BRICS, because these BRICS are the ones that are trying to they're trying to topple the USD. That's a long story. That's a story for another day. We need to round up so that this video is not way too lengthy. I repeat, we need to round up soon so that the video is not way too lengthy. And of course, before we even round up, if this video has been helpful in any way, then you need to what? Subscribe, like, and comment. Of course, subscribe so that when we drop a new video, you can always get the alert notification and then pop in and then watch it immediately. So make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and then what will happen? You get the alert and then you watch in good time because this is the daily market analysis. So we're going to be giving you heads up on here and there. So you need to tune in when the videos are dropped, right? Now, finally, before we close the curtains, on our website, we have a school, and that is the link right in front of you. In our school, you can get more information that would help you to become a better trader. So I'm just going to navigate to the browser, and this is the school over here. As you can see, CSA Forex, our school. You can see the bull and the bears in front of us, right? And then you scroll down, you have lots of information. We number them 1 all the way down to 12 that can help you. The first one, the webinar, free webinar. Watch it to help you to understand how to use the software to open, close, modify trades, how to analyze the market, fundamentals, technicals, risk management, psychology, open demo account. We have some live beginners 3 days training. Click here to register and so on. You have a lot of information here. Position size calculator for those that don't know how to calculate the risk. Click on it. It opens up the page here where you can put in your account balance, your risk, and so on. And then finally click on calculate, and it gives you the position size. Okay, so we want to say what? We want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. That's indeed been a good one. Don't forget, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I repeat, have any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll get back to you in good time. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you same time tomorrow with another video update for the series What's Happening in the Forex Market Today. Thank you guys. Goodbye, and God bless for now. Cheers.